Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Wealthy Lawyer. We are so happy to have you back. Today, we are going to dig deep and talk about what you need to do if you are a lawyer and want to be a wealthy one, and how you begin to build your book with intention and purpose. Follow along.
Hey, Kelly, how are ya?
Hey, Jeff, I'm great. Good to see you.
Good to see you. What do you think of the new home?
I'm loving the new digs.
Not bad, eh? Yeah. A little bit of an upgrade. Four episodes deep, and we're already moving on up.
I know.
Us and the Jeffersons.
Proud of us.
It's amazing how we've gotten this far so quick.
Yeah.
And it's great. We got some people watching, which is great. Listening.
We do. Hi to all the people.
It's nice to be here.
It is.
It's nice to get this going. I think one of the things, the first few episodes we've been pretty good about just talking about what we do and a little bit just very generic, but it'd be great to delve a little bit deeper today into what exactly we do, what exactly you do, and how you get people getting to where they want to get to. Because I think really at the end of the day, Kelly, we've talked so much about why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how do we get people understand what they really want to get out of their practice. What do they want to get out of their life, I think.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I think, it's been fun to give the background on how you and I came together in this business, because we're both serving lawyers in different ways out there in the world. Yep. And, in my coaching practice and in the work that I do at Southern Group, I'm working with lawyers all day, every day, and they all come in with the same question or a version of the same question, which is, what do I need to do to be successful?
Right.
What do I need to do to build a self-sustaining book of business? And it doesn't really matter what age and stage these lawyers are at when they ask that question. And so the first answer that I have to give is actually a question back to them, which is, it's a two-part question, which is, well, what is it that you actually want to have or be or do? What is success? So if you're going to come to me and say, what do I have to do to become successful in my legal practice or in building my law firm? I have to understand what your version of success looks like. And I'm sure it's no different than, when they come to you and say, Jeff, how do I become wealthy? And you say, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's funny because I'm always curious. Do most of the lawyers that you're dealing with, do they know what they really want yet?
They know that they want to be successful, right?
Right.
Have they actually defined what success means to them? Not necessarily, because what they've defined are the things they can have by virtue of being successful, right? So the things that they can buy, the places they can go, the amount of time they can take off, when they can retire. That's a big one, right? Planning forward to, how long am I going to be working this hard doing the things that I'm doing? But what that success actually is or feels like while they're working, a lot of them have not.
Which brings me to a good question, actually, that I'm curious about. A lot of people go down the wrong direction first.
Sure.
Right? Like, I know I made a lot of mistakes when to get to where I am now.
Not you.
Not me. Yeah, I have. What do you think most lawyers get wrong when they're trying to build out their practice or trying to figure out what their practice should look like?
The number one thing they get wrong in the beginning is copying what they've seen someone else do. So, when we're talking about building a book, we're talking about business development, right? So all day, every day, I talk about building practices. And one of the biggest parts of building a practice, of course, is your business development. What they get wrong is doing business development the way they've seen other successful lawyers do business development. So I'm just going to take that playbook and I'm going to apply it to me and think that I'm going to have a similar result. But that playbook has nothing to do with, go back to what I answered before, what is that version of success that you're going after? The version of success that the lawyer in the office next to you is going after, the playbook was designed for that person, or hopefully it was intentionally created for that person by that person, or with a great BD coach. But they have to define what it is for them so that they can now reverse engineer. If that's where I'm going, what do I have to do now to start to make my way there?
Now, it takes a great deal of clarity to get to that point.
You bet it does.
Right? And if, not to not to say that most lawyers don't think clearly, but they've got so many things in their mind. Mm-hmm. How do you create that clarity for them? Because it's too easy, as you said, to turn around and look at the office, the cubicle, the whatever next to them and say, that's what I want for me. How do you get them to create greater clarity out of that? To get there.
I'm glad that you actually changed that question. How do I give them the clarity? I can't give anybody clarity. No coach can, right? How do I help them see that vision clearly? We need to start, and that's the same thing. I just want to say, like, if a coach or a consultant or somebody comes in and tells you what your clarity is, fire them. We all have to arrive at the clarity that we need for ourselves, because then it's actually our vision. Then it's actually our version of what it is that we're working toward. So lawyers think very clearly about lots of things, but what they typically think clearly about are the solutions, are the end results. How quickly can I get from here to solving my client's problem? So they get into action right away. They're actually trained to think in action right away. Shortens the amount of time it takes to service a file, lowers the amount of billable hours on a file. They are paid to think quickly and solve problems fast.
So you bring up an interesting question, because one of the things that we talk about, obviously, is the fact that we're dealing with lawyers, right? And we don't deal with widget makers or bakers or candlestick makers. So how do you get them, the lawyers, to figure out, this is exactly the practice that I want, and these are the ideal clients? Because I think for them, it's got to be the same thing. You can't just serve everybody.
Right.
You need to be pretty focused on who it is you're trying to help, and then from there, the clarity that comes with it. So how do you get them to zero in on who they want to deal with?
Well, the first thing we need to help them figure out is why they're doing what they're doing, right? And so when people get into action right away, they're solving for a problem they're not really sure they understand. The problem is, who's my ideal client? What's my ideal practice? They just start doing things. Mm-hmm. It'll lead to some version of success, but it won't be the straightest path to the success that they actually want.
Right.
So the first question is, I love referencing Simon Sinek. To me, he's got, so many of the answers of what we do. Okay, why? Yep. His version of why focuses on this golden circle, right? Most people are in action all the time, or they're focused on the result. They're focused on the end product. So like we said before, the things they can have, the places they can go, the private schools their kids can go to, whatever that tangible thing is, they're focused on the outcome. Now, if they're a little bit more evolved in their thinking, they're not just focused on the outcome, they're focused on the actions that they can take to start to get the outcome that they want. But the more important of the three is what sits right dead center, which is why. Why are you doing what you're doing? That helps us get to who's your ideal client, what is your ideal kind of work, legal work that you want to do, and to sort of figure that out in an accelerated way. I ask them to think about their favorite client or file, or the matter that they worked on in which they felt the most of service. Like, this is my sweet spot. I nailed that. I knocked it out of the park, to use your, baseball life as a background. Well done. But, they know when it feels right, when they're doing the thing they're meant to do. Now we try to find more people just like that.
So here's a question for you.
Sure.
Reversed a little bit.
Okay.
So I've got a client, young, usually fifth year associate.
Okay.
Doesn't love the practice area that he's in.
Oh, yeah.
So now but he's gone so deep. It's almost like no turning back, right? He feels like he's
or so
stuck.
He thinks.
He feels he's stuck.
Right.
And at the particular firm that he's at, he doesn't see the opportunity to pivot.
Okay.
Or doesn't know how to.
Okay.
So how could you guide somebody like that needs to he needs a change. He doesn't want to do X, he wants to do Y instead. Mm-hmm. Any thoughts on how you could...
that's a sticky question, because if the practice area that he actually wants to work in doesn't exist in the firm that he's at, he has a conundrum.
It's there. He's just not there.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's perfect. then, this is where you really start to identify, is that other practice area actually where your passion lies?
Right.
Is that the kind of work that you're going to find fulfilling? And if it is, then you start to date around a little bit.
Right.
This is where you go to the practice group lead in that other practice area and ask to be put on some of the files. Ask to try it out. Obviously, he has to continue to service the clients and the files in the practice area that he's in, but there's no better way to figure out where you want to be than to try it.
So doubling down on that one.
Yeah.
You don't know if you really enjoy something until you get the
Correct.
opportunity to try it.
Correct.
So how does one, especially a younger lawyer, coming into it fresh-faced and all the gusto in the world, decide that's the road I want to go or this is the road I want to go? Where could one begin?
This is kind of the point of articling. And so they do get to sort of date around and try different practice areas,
Right.
hopefully, if it's, if they're doing their articles with a firm that has different practice areas. But really, it's about, again, even when they're coming out of law school, having an idea about why they are becoming lawyers. Forget about the practice area for a minute. Why are you even a lawyer? Why did you invest all of that time and money in going to law school? What did you hope to create for your life?
Right.
Start with, again, the practice area, the execution is the what you're actually going to do. Why are you doing this? Are you in this to make the world a better place? Are you in this to help people get out of really difficult life situations? Are you in this to help companies create the most successful path to, acquisition of every competitor? Why are you doing what you're doing?
Right. So let's assume now that they've got that figured out.
Okay.
Okay. So we're on to it. We
We
know
are.
we know where we want to go.
Yep.
Now, how do they go about developing their practice?
Okay. So once you know why you're doing what you're doing, you've defined your version of success, the way that only you can define it.
Yep.
You start to work back from there and say, what are the steps that I need to take now in order to start making my way there? That vision is a filter for every decision they're going to make, whether it's which partner are they going to align themselves with, which practice area are they going to be in, which clients are they going to pursue, what extra skills are they going to continue to develop. Those are all executions. Those are all things that will help them get their way to the practice that they want to have. Can I tell you a story?
Hit me.
Lots of people, not just young lawyers, not just mid-career lawyers, not just senior lawyers, you and I, I'm sure, have done this from time to time. We spend a lot of time swinging our axe, right? We're trying to chop down as many trees as we can
Yep.
in the amount of time that we have available to us in a day, in a week, in a career. But if we're not thinking about how we strategically chop down the trees, we're just chopping trees. When lawyers or any professionals start doing the activities that they do to build their books of business, you can just swing at a bunch of trees in a forest. Chances are, a couple of them will be the right trees. They'll be great. You can make furniture out of them. I'm going to go back to Simon Sinek for a second. And one of the stories that he tells is about two lumberjacks who go into the forest. They both work the same amount of hours in a day. At the end of the day, one lumberjack always has a bigger pile of wood that he's chopped at the end of the day. But you know what that lumberjack does? He takes a break in the middle of the day. The end of a week, the end of a period of time, the other lumberjack says to him, listen, we come in at the same time, we leave the forest at the same time, you leave in the middle of the day for an hour, and you still chop more wood than I do. What are you doing? He says, well, I use that hour in the middle of my day to go home and sharpen my axe. So my message is sharpen your axe. Don't just swing at every tree that's in front of you. Don't just take any opportunity that comes in front of you. Don't just go to any speaking engagement, any conference, write an article about anything. If it isn't aligned with your practice, it's not going to get you closer to the thing that you want. So sharpen your axe, slow down, step back, stop acting on everything that comes in front of you, and take the time to be mindful.
Have purpose.
Have a purpose.
An intention.
An intention.
So now they know what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
They think they know what they want to do. They need to be intentional.
Yes.
What are the steps to get going, to really get going then? I mean, like a fish out of water, you get thrown into, or you're just thrown into the fire right away.
Yeah.
What steps can a young lawyer especially take to make themselves stand out amongst the other associates, maybe as an example?
That's a big one, right? How do you stand out when you've got other really smart people? Like, listen, our clients are all really, really smart people.
Yep.
They're lawyers. They're successful in that alone. So how do you stand out amongst a group of people at your same age, stage, level of education, even your area of specialty? Those things don't set you apart.
Yep.
Not even your firm name, not even if you're at like a top tier firm. That doesn't set you apart because everybody else at that firm has that same differentiator, right? So
Yep.
maybe it sets you apart in the market, but then it just whittles down the group. So how do you stand out? You understand who you are specifically. You talked about this actually recently. You talked about this in one of your social posts, and I absolutely loved it. When you figured out, talk to me about that, because you were talking about personal brand essentially, but what was that?
Yeah, it has to be authentic to you. When you feel that it's truly you, then it's a lot easier. Then it's not work.
Right. When you're not fighting against who you actually are.
And trying to find who you think you might be.
Or trying to be like the other guy.
Sometimes it's already in you. You just got to look a little deeper.
It's always already in you, right?
Yeah.
So the way young lawyers in particular, but this is not exclusive to young lawyers, I have to say. I work with lawyers who might be at their 10th, 15th year of call who haven't actually taken the time to figure out what makes them special. They know they are because people are coming to them by that point.
Yep.
They know they are because people are referring to them, people are referring work to them, people are talking about the great work that they do. So they know something is special about what they do, but they themselves haven't actually figured it out. And until you figure it out, you can't replicate it.
Right.
Right? So the one thing that I would say is the place to start is to understand the brand of you, right? When I was a young professional, I can't remember the year, but Fast Company, that magazine of old, had an issue that was called The Brand Called You. And it stuck with me all these years because you are the one who determines how the world sees you and experiences you. You get to curate that. And if you don't, everybody else is going to do it for you. So do you want to be the one to define what it is that makes you special? Or do you want everybody else to decide kind of by working with you what makes you special?
I think you are who you are, right? And the more you can exude that energy, the better.
Harness it and replicate it. Don't waver. Don't be somebody else in each different room that you walk into. Don't be someone else on each file or with each client. You have to be who you are, doing the exceptional work that you do in the very specific way that you do it, because those are the two things that set you apart. Everything else that's on your CV, everything else that's on your LinkedIn bio can likely be said by others. You really want to focus on knowing what it is that sets you apart and then leaning right into that.
So as you lean right into it, I find, like in my business, it can be very tough because you do a lot of legwork without seeing immediate results. Yeah. And if the lawyers that you're dealing with are anything like the lawyers that I see, they want results yesterday. Right? There's not a lot of patience involved. Yeah. So how do you help them understand that the seeds they're planting today will, at some point, if they do the right steps along the way, produce fruit? Yeah.
Consistency. I talk to them about consistency. Understand who you are and what you do exceptionally well. Figure out the kind of practice you want to build so that you can align yourself in that direction. You can point your ship in that direction. Start rowing, and do it consistently. I love that you said seed because I've said this in a previous episode. Business development is like growing a garden. You don't put a seed in the soil, walk away and come out the next day and pick ripe, beautiful fruit off of the tree. That seed takes consistent tending, and so does every business development practice. Be consistent.
Yeah.
Show up again and again. Water the hell out of that seed. Make sure it's getting sunlight. That's your time and attention and energy that you're giving to those seeds. Eventually, the fruit will grow on the tree. And it will continue to grow. And the effort that you put into keeping that tree alive and bearing fruit will be so much less. This is a front-end loaded effort.
And I think, with that, Kelly, I think it's going to be great as we go on with these episodes. We're going to be able to help them understand what are those steps, I think, to grow that seed, to get it so it's bearing fruit.
Absolutely. You know what we get to talk about in the next episode, though?
I shudder to think.
We get to talk about this exact same concept, but on the other side. So on the financial side, what are the things that people need to do? So I can't wait to come back and talk to you about that.
I guess we're going to do that soon.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Thanks, Kel.
This was a lot of fun. Thanks, Jeff.